welcome back to another episode of the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast. It is Friday, August 12th, and it is another episode of the NXT UK Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan, and let's get on into this. Before we do get too far into this, let's just a reminder, make sure to follow the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast on Twitter at Deep Six Wrestling. It is wrestling without the G at the end. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on any of the different platforms that we are on, as well as subscribing to the YouTube if you want to watch some videos that we've done, punishment videos, end-of-year awards, mid-year awards, things like that, as well as some random videos that we've done in the past, unboxings, things like that. As well as, if you want, you can listen to the podcast on there as well, as the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast on YouTube. So NXT UK starts off with our first match in the NXT UK Championship Tournament. It is Oliver Carter versus Charlie Dempsey of D Familia. Do want to say that I thought this was probably the one match that I noticed really strongly that there's some really generic pumped in noise. I think people have given WWE shit for a long time about the pumped in crowd noise that's unnecessary. It was very noticeable because it doesn't match any of the chanting or the cheering. It just sounds like video game noise from like 2K. And it's very distracting when like the wrestlers are coming down and you've got chants going, and then you've got this overbearing just made up noise going on. Oliver Carter would attack D Familia before the match could start, just trying to get them out of the way so that this could just be him versus Oliver Carter versus Charlie Dempsey. Nigel McGuinness makes sure that everybody is aware that this is Oliver Carter trying to go through, become 3 for 3 against the rest of D Familia, as he's beaten Rohan, Raja, and Teoman in the past weeks. Last week, Oliver Carter had this segment backstage talking about how his neck was messed up, and he was advised not to wrestle. He wasn't going to be cleared, and then Sid Scala shows up and is like, "Hey, you're going to be in the NXT UK tournament, championship tournament, and your match is next week." And he was like, "Oh, well, I guess I can put that behind me, and just some things I've got to focus more on the title because they don't come all that often." There's no note in this entire match that his neck is seriously injured or that he's banged up regarding that injury. That he was such a serious thing that we needed a backstage medical update about last week. Instead, there's different injuries here, and that is a leg injury because Charlie Dempsey just keeps on wearing down Oliver Carter over and over again, trying to go for this single leg Boston Crab, taking out, putting all the pressure on the leg over and over again with ground-based attacks. Oliver Carter is squealing in pain at points. He goes for a kick, and he just has to crumple to the ground, and he's yelling in pain. It looks like he's going to tap out. He gets out of it. He then goes for a running kick, and he again can't run. He crumples to the ground, and this allows Charlie Dempsey to go and put in the lock again. And it looks like he's going to pick up the win, but Oliver Carter rolls him up instead. Picks up the win, then crawls out of the ring, crawls up the ramp, somehow avoiding all of D Familia, and he has picked up another win against Steve Familia and has advanced into the next round of the tournament. Thought this was a pretty good match. Again, odd that they did this whole segment last week about this injury and that they just never did anything with it. Kind of weird. Weird that, they immediately started to go to a different situation, go with a different injury. This is the first time I got to see Charlie Dempsey. I thought he was pretty good. I learned that this is William Regal's son. Makes sense that he's kind of a bastard, with him being very heelish, since I feel like that's what William Regal's known for. Makes sense that he's more of a brawler, a fighter, but also technically gifted. Would fit really well in the Blackpool Combat Club that William Regal runs in AEW, since that's what they're all about, is being rough, tough, technically gifted, all that stuff. But yeah, this was pretty fun. This would lead us to our next segment. It was so last week. The main event was an all-out clusterfuck of mistakes, of just awful booking, and we got even further awful booking here because it is what happened backstage after the women's segment from last week. And security is trying to push everybody away. Blair's trying to do a promo in the middle of this for some reason. Sid Scala just says, hey, you know what? Because of this, none of you will ever get a title shot. And just walks off. What? So I get not giving it to Blair because she took out the two competitors that were supposed to go for the title, the champion and the number one contender. That makes sense, taking her out. Eliza Alexander, it makes sense because, one, she just hasn't won very much, and she caused the new number one contender match to become a no contest. That makes sense. Amal, it makes sense because, again, she lost to Blair in her last match, as well as, being involved in this no contest. Makes sense. Doesn't really make sense for Ela Dawn to get punished for this because she showed up to answer Blair's point that she hasn't beaten everybody on the roster because she hasn't beaten Ela Dawn. She had the match won and got the match thrown out because Eliza Alexander and Amal got involved. Even though she had the 2 count, looked like going to be a 3 count on Blair. So yeah, looks like they're punching her for absolutely no reason. You can see she's visibly upset about this. This is just awful booking. I don't understand this. If this is just a way to be like, all right, well, Sarai and Maiko are going to get a match again for it, and none of you guys can get involved or anything like that, I guess, but why wouldn't you have just done that to begin with? Why push it back? This is silly. We'd then get another backstage segment. We've got Amal doing a backstage interview on the Nina Samuel show, with Amal saying that she's going to get a title shot because she's going to beat everybody that she has to get that title shot. Are we positioning her as the next challenger? Even though the segment that they just aired said that nobody was getting title shots again, this is silly. The women's division here is looking sillier and sillier booking-wise, and these backstage segments and the segments that they air, just weird. After this, we also had Tyler Bate backstage. As he comes in, the cameraman says, "Oh, you don't have a match. Why are you here?" And he's like, "Oh, I just want to. There's a match I'm really interested in. It's Trent Seven versus Wolfgang." And Sid Scala shows up and says, "Hey, I know you've got issues with Trent, but this NXT UK Championship Tournament. It's really important to Mr. Saint. Please don't get involved in any of Trent's matches in this tournament. Okay. This would lead us to Eliza Alexander versus Thea Hale of Chase U. The crowd is really into Chase U here. I think they're more into this match than the Bodie Hayward match. Doing chants that Bodie is leading, all this stuff. The match itself, this is the first time I'm seeing either of these competitors. Eliza, I think, was pretty good. Thea definitely seems very green, but she seems like she's got a lot of potential. She's very energetic. She had a really good counter to Eliza's camel clutch, which I didn't think was the greatest camel clutch. It did look like it was not really the best positioning. It looked kind of easy to slip out from, but that's not what Thea did. Instead, she just powered out of it. She's a much smaller individual compared to Eliza, so it looked really good. Crowd was really into this spot. But Eliza would end up winning with a running kick to the side of the head. Commentary then said, does this put Eliza into the title picture? Based off of everything, who the fuck knows? But I don't think this should. This is one match. It's not like Thea was in the title picture to begin with. It's, again, one match. Considering she hadn't won a singles match on TV since April or May, several months ago. I don't think that you should be just giving her a title opportunity because she got one win against a non-title threat. Also, Andy Shepherd says that he thinks Eliza Alexander is scared of competition and doesn't want to have this match. And Nigel quickly reminds him that Eliza asked for this match and challenged Thea to the match. We'd get a Chase U lecture that is interrupted by Eddie Dennis, who is saying that this isn't a real school. Why would people want to go to Chase U instead of the prestigious schools in the UK like Cambridge, Oxford, and the other colleges and universities of that ilk? And says that he used to be a professor at these, and they're so much better than Chase University. And instead you claim that you're one of the best schools because you taught somebody how to tie their shoes and comb their hair. And Andre Chase is like, well, if you think it's so easy to turn somebody from, as you say, a Neanderthal to a proper wrestler and person, then how about you turn that one into a capable wrestler? And it is just a guy with an overgrown beard and overgrown hair with no shirt on, eating meat. Weird. I don't know if this is a wrestler in NXT UK, if this is just some random guy that they got for this spot. I don't know, but this was weird. Next up would be Teoman versus Sam Gradwell. Sam Gradwell, haven't really seen much of him since one of the NXT UK tournaments. He looks totally different than when he did then. I thought this was a pretty good match. This is the first time I'm really seeing anything from Sam since those tournaments. And I think this was a fine match. I thought these guys had pretty good chemistry. Teoman kept on trying to get rid of Gradwell, kept on trying to just show disrespect to him, kept on slapping him. instead of actually trying to wrestle him, while Gradwell is constantly trying to attack him with power moves. He hits him with a shoulder tackle early on. He starts hitting elbows and what looked like strikes to the face over and over again. He hits him with a forearm smash. He body slams Teoman. He's just in control for a lot of this. Rohan Raja is at ringside here and is able to kind of counter some of Gradwell's stuff, get involved a little bit, but eventually he is able to he gets thrown out because the ref sees it. Unfortunately, this would this would be basically the end of Teoman once that happens, as Gradwell hits Teoman with a knee strike that is with his braced knee. He hits a Michinoku driver, picks up the win. And yeah, that would take us to our main event of the night. Actually, before that, there was a segment backstage with Sid Scala introducing the new Heritage Cup champion, which is Mark Coffey. In the 3 weeks I've been watching again, we haven't even had a mention really of the Heritage Cups, other than that Shaw Samuels is down bad because he was running bets about it and lost all his money because Mark Coffey won. But we hadn't had any real talk about where Noam was, or when this match happened, or anything like that. Noam Dar shows up and asks for a rematch. Mark Coffey says, we're 1-1, and under Heritage Cup rules, that would take us to a third round, so why not have a third? Book it. Sid Scala says that he will try to make this match happen to the best of his ability. This would take us to our main event. It is Wolfgang versus Trent Seven. Also, pretty cool thing about these matches for the UK tournament is that they're leading off with like a promo by each guy. It's very similar to how the original NXT UK tournaments were, where they'd have these promos beforehand, but they're being done as they come out. Interesting thing for Trent Seven is that he's still coming out to the Mustache Mountain music. He's being billed from Mustache Mountain, but he's a heel. Crowd really hates Trent Seven. He's a very despicable heel now. And I think it works. Commentary points out that this was a matchup in the 2017 NXT UK, or the first ever UK tournament. So, pretty cool. Little throwback there. And yeah, I thought this was a pretty good match. Wolfgang looked to be in control for a lot of this, but Trent Seven, whenever the control was getting too far, he'd just do something underhanded. Wolfgang went up, as commentary said, this is the first time he's tried to do this in several years, but he gets on top of the barricade, and he tries to do a moonsault off of it, but Trent Seven knocks him over, so he can't do it. Crowd boos heavily for this. Wolfgang would then again, Trent Seven went for a dive, and Wolfgang catches him for in midair, hits him, goes for a body slam. Seven lands on his feet. They go back outside. This is when that would happen that I talked about. Seven was trying to get away from Wolfgang for a bit, dives under the ropes to try to break up the count. Wolfgang puts him in the fireman's carry position, but Seven is able to get out of there. He does cheap shot Wolfgang a few times while the ref was not looking. Seven would then hit kick Wolfgang in the gut. He would then go for the 7-star lariat, but Wolfgang was able to get out of it and hit a release German suplex instead. He would go for the running crossbody into the turnbuckles, and followed up with a double axe handle strike. And then towards the end of this, he goes for a superplex, but Seven is able to get out of that. He goes for the Swanton Bomb. Seven gets out of it, hits a spinning back fist, and then hits the Burning Hammer for the win. And this is why I like Trent Seven, man. If you've listened to any of my stuff on any of the other podcasts that we do, you know I'm a huge fan of the Burning Hammer. The fact that Trent Seven is whipping it out in a first round of the tournament always is going to get a thumbs up from me. So far on this, of the 3 shows I've watched, I thought this was the best of the 3. The women's match was good. This match was really good. The opening match was pretty good. Teoman versus Sam Gradwell existed. It was fine. But yeah, overall, I'd give this a thumbs up. Just compared to the other stuff that I've watched of NXT UK the last 3 weeks. So yeah, I'll be back next week with another review of this. Also, make sure to check out our other podcasts. We've got the Impact Power Hour. We've got Rob's SmackDown review that will be out later. I will have a review for Impact's Emergence either on Friday night or Saturday, depending on when it ends. Pat will probably have some G1 stuff as well. So yeah, just be on the lookout. Follow us and subscribe to the podcast if you're interested. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye.